Matera, one of the oldest cities in the world. It's a place that's often called timeless, but it's been eventful. My guess is that one of the most important things that ever happened here happened in prehistoric times. I would guess that this is the happiest, wealthiest, most prosperous time that the city of Matera has had in about 8,000 years. So let's go out around the city and see if we can figure this puzzle out. Well, Matera's traditional difficulty was water. When it was originally founded, there was plenty of water here because these are heavily forested areas and they hadn't been grazed by sheep. But as the centuries went on, there was more of a difficulty there. And it was actually Matera's environmental problems that saved it for us. But you can see little details now of sort of the way modern infrastructure is stolen through the fabric. Like this orange construction netting next to this rock, or the way the new rock has been cut by machinery and then fed into the old rock made by hand. Or the things that really intrigue me, like just over there, there are two water faucets which have been literally tunneled into the urban fabric of the city. Or you can see these really ancient rocks which now have manhole covers which have been sort of cunningly fitted in to match the design aspects of the earlier city. There's an aspect of contradiction and oxymoron there that really tells us something about the way we live today. And we don't have just a culture, we have a culture industry. We don't have just heritage, we have a heritage industry. We don't have just cities, we have cities that are like airports. We don't have isolated areas, we have connected areas. As any archaeologist could tell you, we always leave a lot more heritage by accident than we ever do by design. So if I were, say, Domenico Ridola, famous local archaeologist, but from the 25th century, this is the sort of thing I would really appreciate as like the heritage of modern times. For instance, back in the 20th century and early 21st, they used to make these out of petroleum, unbelievably. And these fluid cantators, out of glass, look, they didn't even recycle them. And imagine the amount of liquid in this period amphora that would have been stored and cast away for almost no reason. Why, it might have been olive oil, it might even have been alcohol, the food of the period. There's all kinds of little leftover tiny bits of evidence, historical evidence of all kinds. Fantastic, piled up. Now, of course, the problem with living in rocks and caves is you don't really have a place to put the debris. And that's been a major Matera difficulty for quite a while. They're almost all 20th century things. They really have no other explanation. For instance, all those white satellite dishes that are attached to things, the fact that the skyline is furred all over with television aerials, the enormous iron crane next to the church steeple there. And then if you pan in the middle, you can see a very interesting development, which is this entire set of global flags set in the middle of the city. And also, who's wandering around in here? If I were the medieval lord of the town, the people I'd find really disturbing are, of course, the tourists. What's their historical role here? We have museums of practically every aspect. Will we have the Museum of Tourism? Will we have the Museum of the Culture Industry? How does that legacy fit in there? Well, this is my favorite part of Matera. This little ethnographic museum where the home life of a family is preserved. I think this illustrates the sort of main occupational hazard of the heritage industry or the culture industry, which is in order to save the house, the family must be killed. The baby's cradle is empty. Mom, Dad no longer sleep in the bed. The clothes hung on the wall go mysteriously undisturbed. And the little factory that we have here where Mom is making the clothing from the things harvested right out in the field, cotton, wool, is terribly still now. Musical box up there, the accordion, which of course will never make a happy sound again. Nobody cooks in the kitchen. Nobody eats the corn that's slowly drying up on the wall. I guess the saddest figure in here is our plastic horse or mule. There's something monumental about him. I really scarcely know what to say. I wish I could see somebody live here and put all these things back into motion. I wanted to end my recital here in my hotel room in Matera because I think it has some very interesting lessons for us. This little room here is like in Matera, but not of it. You can see that it has barrel vaults. It even has intersecting barrel vaults. It has things that look like native rock. They're not quite. Almost every serious problem that the people of Matera had have been solved in my room. I have a beautiful hot shower there, which is as much water as I want. I have global television next to my bed. I have electric lights. I have heating. I have all the modern luxuries, but in a pastiche. Now, this is no accident. This place took a lot of care to build, and my question is, what happens 100 years from now when I, too, the passing global tourist, am a historical figure? What happens when I'm part of the past, when I, too, am part of Matera's heritage? How are people going to deal with that? If there's been a century of culture industry, obviously that is the culture. It's like parody and pastiche. Somehow it has to take root. It has to find its own vitality. It has to give us meaning. It has to be something that our descendants won't be ashamed to see. That's all I have to say in this little presentation. Goodbye from Matera.